Hi, friendly friends. It's Amy from Savor Salvage Scent. I hope this finds you well. For those of you who are new to the channel, this mostly focuses on all things fragrance related and occasional other creative or DIY project. Um, Thanks to those of you who have returned. I encourage any of you to leave thoughts, questions, ideas, and it would mean a lot to me if you would give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't, because it helps me grow and helps us stay in touch. So, I'm going to be honest. Once you kind of become a perfume reviewer or provide content for a certain amount of time, it's interesting. You start just seeing trends more and of what other people are doing. And I want to be careful how I talk about this because there is zero judgment here. But I just know for me, one of the things that I tried to do is both provide information that would have been helpful to me when I started building my collection. So I often focus on notes. For instance, do you like the smell of orange flower? And if so, here are 5, 10 that I would recommend. Talking about certain noses, that's another great way to know, like, if I like 2 perfumes by this nose, I might like more. That kind of thing. It seems like more and more the content in YouTube is being pushed by just selling what's hot in the day. And I know I crave, frankly, people with a bit more experience. And I just want them to have some experience about what they're talking about. And again, I hope this doesn't sound ageist because we all start somewhere. But I just need a little more. Frankly, I'm also just going through some things right now. So I thought it might be interesting to focus a little bit more on just some questions I have around perfumery, and also on some themes more to do with emotion. It might be because, I don't know, going through some tough things right now. It's Mother's Day. I miss my mom terribly. Um, just reflecting a lot and thought, I don't know, I think this is going to influence my content for a while. To cut to the chase, today I'm going to talk about 2 perfumes that are both made by Lanvin. It's a house I feel like that doesn't get enough attention, but I also want to call a question about perfumery related to this house. I am really underdressed today. I have barely any makeup on. And real casual. Anyways, I hope you'll accept me as I am. And just want to point out, these are some beautiful Tibetan beads my mom got for me not long after she passed when we were on a trip together. Love them. Okay. I know I'm all over the map. All right, Lanvin. So here's the question I'm thinking about when I talk about these 2 scents today. DNA in perfumery. How much does that exist? How important is it when you're thinking about scents and collecting? Does it matter at all? Something, frankly, that's really interesting to me about certain older houses, 2 that come to mind are Guerlain, one of my first loves, and probably, I would say, a 5th, maybe the 6th of my collection is dedicated to Guerlain. And then Chanel, I think, is another good example where I think if you took 10 of their scents over time, I bet 6 or 8 would have this DNA, even if it's 5% of what's running through the perfume or even 1%. There's something that you can point out. Like most Chanels, when I smell them, I'm like, they smell like a Chanel. And for me, that's often like aldehydic, clean, bright, still sophisticated. With Guerlain, it tends to be powdery, often melancholic in my mind. What else would I say about Guerlain? Sometimes Gourmand, but not always. Um, anyways, I that's something that to me, and I don't know, this might say something about a limitation about the way I think or just the way I am, but it helps me kind of identify and wrap my arms around it, and then those perfumes kind of wrap their arms around me once we get each other, if that makes any sense. Um, I love the House of Lanvin, and I have a small collection, I would say probably 8 or 10 perfumes. I'm going to talk about one today that is vintage and discontinued. Sadly, you can still find it, sometimes costly, although if you watch, you can find it somewhat affordably at times. And then a newer one, I think they're so drastically different. They, to me, and I would love to hear from you. This is all could be a debate. I'm still learning. I've been collecting for 30 years, and I know I talked earlier about experience, but I think what's great about perfume, kind of like music, wine, I could go on, art, you could watch it every day or experience it every day, and there would still be worlds undiscovered. So I'm a lifelong learner, and I'll be the first to admit that. Um, to me, these two scents couldn't be more different. Um, and I think part of that is in some of these houses, they've had so many different noses or in-house perfumers or like just out-of-house perfumers that I think it's hard to have a DNA. Does that matter to you all? Do we care? Do you think it affects the market much? One of the reasons I think that Guerlain and Chanel have stood the test of time, which is really hard when there's, God, I don't even know how many. I used to think it was tens of thousands a year, but it releases a perfume. For something to hold on for, I think in their case, both over 100 years, it's pretty astounding. Lanvin, I think, has been around not quite as long, but still I think around the 100-year mark. I'm not sure. I should have looked that up. Anyway, so I'm going to talk to you about two scents today that I think are very different, really beautiful. Two of my favorite scents, actually. And yeah, I would just love to hear what you think about just how much does DNA matter. I think these are both incredible. So I'm going to start with, this was one of my holy grail perfumes. It is called, I don't know if you can see, Clair de Jour by Lanvin. Oh, sorry, the glare is kind of tough, but you can see there's like rays of light like a sun. This is Clair de Jour. This 2.5? I think it's 2.5. This I watched for years. Long story short, I went to a market once about 10 years ago with some friends. I was looking for honey at the time, and my friend said, we have the honey for you, and it only comes out, like once a year, and it's honey that basically is harvested by bees that harvest through the black locust tree. For those of you who aren't familiar, black locust is one of the most beautiful scents I've ever smelled. Big floral bunches from a tree. It is the most exquisite, to me, light floral honeyed scent. It's just gorgeous. I bought the honey that day, and that was equally floral and just beautiful, and the scent of that was even incredible. And so when I had that experience, this is when I first started kind of deeply collecting. I went in for Grantica, looked for the notes, and there were very few perfumes that prominently used black locust. And one of them that people talked about, very few people, but raved about it, was Clair de Jour. So I looked for this for years. This, if you look on, for instance, the internet right now, you can find this, old vintage dead stock soap for like around $7 to $10, and then the perfume, depending on the person, on the seller, it goes everywhere from like 20 for a really tiny bottle all the way to like 300. I watched this for a long time, and I got it for about 40 a few years ago, which was a great price. This is one of the, oh my goodness, I just took the nozzle off. This is one of the best blind buys I've ever experienced, and I try to do blind buying less and less, actually, but when you have a vintage scent like this, it's not around, it's hard to do otherwise. This was created in 1983. I'm not sure when it was discontinued. It was described as a floral aldehyde for women. Very frankly, if I would have just read this description before knowing how much I loved black locust, I would have thought that I wouldn't like it. People talk about how it's pretty strong in aldehydes, but to me, the black locust comes through so strongly, and it's so gorgeous. It's one of my favorite scents. So let me tell you the notes quickly. The top notes are hyacinth, aldehydes, green notes, black locust, and bergamot. The mid notes are jasmine, lily of the valley, magnolia, rose, and then the base notes are civet, musk, cedar, and sandalwood. So many things about those notes surprise me when I smell this, and maybe it's because this has softened over the years. I'm not sure. Hyacinth in nature I love, but can be really off-putting to me in perfumery. Often I find it like too toned up or too bright, too screechy. I don't get that here. I do get like a floral composition. Also, the aldehydes. Well, when you first spray it, I have this on my one wrist. Um, this has the best sprayer, by the way. Oh my gosh. When you first spray it, it definitely has a vintage feel. I'm not going to lie. I think anybody, let's say, who is really young and hasn't been collecting long, they're going to be like, wow, that smells older. The aldehyde is kind of strong in the beginning. It softens within a few minutes, no joke. And then while I get the floral composition, I I even get a little bit of the musk, cedar, sandalwood. I don't get civet, but yet for those of you who don't know, I really like a bit of skank in my perfume. So maybe I just don't even pick up on it. I just smell like a wonderful honeyed scent. So once this dries down for just a few minutes, I get I get a little aldehyde, but I mostly get, and this is what's so cool is I think a lot of aldehydic scents, that's almost all you can smell are the aldehydes, or at least they're prominent. Within a few minutes, they're not real prominent to me. What I get is mostly the black locust. It really stands out. And then as it softens, it gets more honeyed. And the smell, I'm sure part of the reason I love this is it's a scent memory thing. I was born in 71, and so I was 12 when this was made. This smells exactly like, to me, what really, like, women in my life when I was a child, when they were dressed up and going out in the 80s. This is what it smelled like but add black locust to that. And it gets really honeyed, but as it dries down, it also gets this sueded inside of a purse effect to me. And it smells like, what people talk about as being lipstick scents now. It gets this sueded, honeyed. I mean, it definitely, again, still has a vintage feel, but you really get that honeyed, soft black locust. And I think, yeah, the aldehydes still play this role where it smells almost a little bit leathery to me, or a little bit sueded. It is crazy gorgeous. If it sounds good to you, I would say keep watch on the internet, and eventually I bet you'll find a bottle. There were even a few bottles today that were not badly priced. I think like somewhere between 50 and 75 or something. Really phenomenal. Clair de Jour by Lanvin. So, a modern scent that I got my hands on a few years ago, A Girl in Capri, also by Lanvin. This is created in 2019. This is a scent made by Sophie Laub, who's a wonderful nose. She's made some of my absolute favorite scents, including Bulgari's Jasmine Noir, which is one of my top 10 for life. She did Bellissima by Blue Marine, which is a new favorite, also kind of like a lipsticky scent. She did Calvin Klein's Beauty, which to me is one of the coolest modern jasmine scents. It's just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. She did Organza, and many, many more, actually. And this is something that I think perhaps could contribute to this difference in DNA. When I look down her list of the perfumes she's created, well over 100, I bet there's 30 houses in there. And to me, it would just be really hard. I mean, any artist, I'm sure, has a signature, but when you're working for that many people, they're swayed, their portfolios are somewhat swayed by who they're working for, too. So, anyway, I wouldn't necessarily know this is a Sophie Laub scent based on the other things that she's done. It's phenomenal, though, I think. This is really affordable. This big 3.4 ounce bottle I got for, I think, about $30. Okay, I love lemon scent. I love citrus flower scents. And I loved the name, frankly. I was like, oh, it must smell like going on vacation. I think that's what they're trying to express. I love lemon and orange, and I love lemon and orange blossom. Let me tell you about the notes quickly. The top notes are lemon and bergamot. The mid notes are grapefruit blossom, C notes. And then the base is white musk, driftwood, amber. And I feel like there's a fair amount of lemon scents on the market, but often they tend to smell like lemon cleaner, and it's that whole, like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? But some of them just remind me way too much of cleaner. They're too screechy. I like light blue a lot, but that can even go a little that way for me. I really like it, actually, but that's still true. I like this, I think, even a little more. A Girl in Capri. This to me is absolutely smells like fresh cut lemons when you first spray it. It has, to be fair, a tiny, tiny bit of like an aroma chemical that I think is the musk additive. And when I first sprayed it, I was like, this isn't going to be for me for like literally 10 seconds. And then all you get is like, you get the fresh, beautiful, bright lemon. And the cool thing is, a few seconds later, you start getting like the blossom part of it. And the musk softens a bit. And the C notes, I mean, I think, I don't know how strong they are. I don't get like ambergris or anything like that. But it all does smell just like fresh summer air. With lemon. And it does, to me, this is a scent that I would describe as smelling like happiness. Like